Building a website, it can feel like you're climbing Everest in the dark, overwhelming, to say the least.
Yeah.
But is there an easier path? That's what we're looking at today.
Right.
Local Exposure, they're a UK company, and they have this claim, websites and digital marketing made easy. So we're doing a deep dive into their web design services. Do they live up to the hype? And are they the right choice for you? Let's find out.
We're going to go beyond just the kind of sales pitch today and look at what's in it for someone like you. Who needs a website that not only looks good, but actually works for their business?
Yeah, because who wants a website that just sits there,
Right.
looks pretty, but doesn't actually do anything? And one thing that jumped out, Local Exposure, they seem to really position themselves against these DIY website builders. We're talking Wix, Squarespace, Shopify, all the big names. They're all about WordPress, saying it gives you more flexibility, more longevity.
And that's a really important point because it's kind of like, you can think of it like renting an apartment versus building your own house. With the DIY platforms, yeah, they're convenient. You can get something up quickly, but you're limited, right? You're limited to their rules, their design templates, everything's kind of predefined for you. WordPress is more like building your own house. You have complete control over the design, the functionality. You can customize it to fit your needs now and as your business grows.
So it's like renting versus earning, but digitally speaking. I think that's a really helpful way to think about it.
Yeah.
For people who might not be familiar, what exactly are we talking about with WordPress?
Yeah. So WordPress, in a nutshell, it's what we call a content management system. And basically, it's a powerful piece of software that allows you to build and manage your website. You don't need to know how to code or anything like that. It's incredibly versatile. You can create anything from a simple blog to a complex e-commerce site.
So you're not stuck with those kind of pre-designed templates necessarily.
Exactly. You have the freedom to integrate things like, a complex booking system if your business requires it, unique design elements that really reflect your brand personality. And that's where WordPress really shines, that kind of flexibility. And that's something that a lot of those DIY platforms, they just can't match.
Yeah. And you make a good point there about long-term vision, right? Having a website that can grow with you. But that's also where it can feel a little intimidating for people like me. I'm not a tech person, The day-to-day management of it all.
Absolutely. And that's where Local Exposure's emphasis on what they call fully managed websites comes in.
Okay. Is that just a fancy buzzword, though? Or is there real substance behind that?
Well, that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
They're kind of banking on the fact that most business owners, they don't want to become tech wizards overnight.
Right.
So they handle all of the kind of technical heavy lifting behind the scenes. We're talking about things like software updates, super important for security, daily backups, God forbid, something happens and you lose all your website data. Security monitoring and making sure that your website is protected from hackers. They take care of all that stuff so you don't have to.
It's like having, a whole IT department, but just for your website.
Exactly.
Without the overhead that goes with that. And, they even call out GoDaddy in their materials, saying they're like 50% cheaper than GoDaddy for this kind of fully managed service.
Yeah.
So is that a steal or is that maybe, red flag?
That's a good point. I mean, it really highlights the importance of, not just looking at the price tag, right?
Yeah.
Cheaper isn't always better.
Right.
Especially when it comes to something as important as your website, as your online presence.
So how can somebody who's, maybe comparing different options, how do they really assess that value proposition beyond just the price?
You have to dig a little deeper.
Yeah.
Ask the right questions. For example, what exactly is included in that fully managed package? How often are they doing backups? What level of customer support do they offer?
Right.
Is there a dedicated account manager, or are you dealing with a different representative every time you have a question?
Yeah.
These are all things that factor into that overall value proposition.
And what about, their experience? Like, do they have a track record of working with businesses similar to yours?
Absolutely. Ask for case studies. Examples of their work. Have they helped other businesses in your industry achieve success online?
It's like checking references for a contractor.
Exactly.
You're not just going to pick the first name in the phone book. You're going to do a little research.
Exactly. It's an investment, right?
Yeah.
You're investing in your website. You want to make sure you're working with the right people.
So beyond just the website build itself, Local Exposure also talks about all these additional services like SEO, content creation, Google business profile, all that kind of stuff. So it's not just about having the website. It's about making sure people can find it.
Yeah, I mean, that's critical, right?
Right.
In today's digital landscape, you need to make sure that your ideal customers, your target audience, they can find you when they're searching online. And that's where SEO comes in, search engine optimization, making sure your website shows up, on Google.
Because what good is a website if it's buried on, like, page 10 of the Google results?
Exactly, exactly.
Nobody's ever going to scroll that far.
No, and then there's things like, your Google business profile. You know that box that pops up
Oh, yeah, yeah.
on the right-hand side?
When you're searching for a local business or something.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Making sure that that's all up to date, so you're showing up in local searches.
It's like your digital storefront almost.
Precisely, precisely.
And one thing they specifically mentioned, I think it was called like Content Boost SEO.
Okay, yeah.
And it started at like $99 a month. So that's,
Yeah.
Not an insignificant amount.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that something worth considering? What is that?
So content marketing, which is essentially creating valuable content,
Yeah.
that attracts your target audience, right?
Okay.
That can be really powerful for boosting your SEO
Right.
because it's giving Google what Google wants, right? It's
Right.
showing that you're an authority. It's providing value to people.
So content is king, but is this particular service worth the money?
Well, again, it comes down to evaluating their expertise.
Okay.
Do they have a track record of creating high-quality content that ranks well,
Yeah. Yeah.
that gets results for their clients?
Right.
Don't be afraid to ask for examples.
And then on their website, of course,
Yeah.
they have a bunch of testimonials.
Of course, yeah.
Clients raving about the ease of the process, the beautiful designs. I think they even mentioned some kind of integration for online ordering if you're doing e-commerce and all this stuff.
Yeah, testimonials are a good starting point, right?
Right.
They give you a little bit of social proof, a glimpse into the experiences of other people who have worked with this company.
But take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, exactly. Because remember, those are very carefully curated
Right.
snippets of positive feedback.
So how can you get a more, I guess, holistic view?
Look beyond their website.
Yeah.
Independent review sites, your Trustpilots, your Google reviews, places like that where you're going to get a more balanced perspective.
Right.
You might actually see some negative reviews, which are just as valuable, if not more so,
Right.
than the positive ones sometimes.
So it's all about, not just seeing the highlight reel, but seeing the behind the scenes as well.
Exactly, exactly. And see what other businesses in your industry with similar needs are saying about their experience.
Okay, so the marketing materials sound promising. Let's talk about the actual investment here. They advertise websites starting from, I think it was $299.
Yeah.
Yeah, that starting from language always makes me a little bit wary. It's like, I don't know, when you're shopping for a new phone, right? And the base price seems great.
Right.
But then you're like, oh, if I want, the extra storage, if I want this, if I want that,
Yeah, yeah,
suddenly you're paying double.
exactly.
So what are some of those potential gotchas when it comes to these sort of website design packages?
Yeah, I mean, the key is to really understand what's included in that baseline price and what could potentially cost extra. So, for example, that $299 might get you a very basic website. We're talking maybe a limited number of pages. You might be restricted to their sort of basic design templates,
Right.
maybe a very minimal number of revisions.
Okay.
Whereas if you need something more complex, like e-commerce functionality, you want to sell products online.
Right.
You want custom graphics, you really want a unique look and feel. All of that could cost extra ongoing maintenance.
Yeah, it's like you're buying, the base model car, but then if you want, the nicer sound system,
Exactly.
heated seats, all that stuff, it's going to cost you.
You got to pay extra.
Yeah.
So have that conversation up front.
Yeah.
Ask for a detailed breakdown of their pricing. What's included? What are the potential add-ons? Any recurring fees? Don't be afraid to ask those tough questions.
So before you jump in with both feet, really understand, what you're getting
Absolutely.
and what you might need to budget for down the line.
Exactly. And beyond the price, it's really about, finding that partner that understands your business goals,
Yeah.
that can support your growth long term. A good web design company, they should be an extension of your team,
That's a good way to look at it.
providing guidance, providing expertise, and ongoing support.
So for our listeners who are probably knee-deep in website research right now, what's the key takeaway from our deep dive into local exposure here?
Building a website can be daunting. It doesn't have to be a shot in the dark. Do your research, ask questions, compare different providers,
Yeah.
and ultimately choose the solution that aligns with your goals, your budget, and your long-term vision.
Local exposure, maybe they're the perfect fit.
Yeah.
But even if they're on your short list, it doesn't hurt to shop around a little bit.
Knowledge is power.
It really is.
Yeah.
Especially, when it comes to all this kind of website stuff. All right, well, that is it for today's deep dive. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next time.